In this video, we are going to learn how to create a new connection. Before we create a new connection, let's take a look at what connections are. Connectors support two different forms of authentication: connections and OAuths. Connections are typically used when a system does not support OAuth-based authentication. For example, if a system supports HTTP basic form of authentication, we can use a connection which requires a username and password as input. It can also be used to support API key-based authentication. For example, ThingWorx supports an app key mechanism. Connections are driven by JavaScript code. Now let's take a look at how to create a new connection. To create a new connection, open up a command prompt into the connectors project directory and run the command symfony add connection and provide a connection name. In this case, we'll provide the connection name basic. Now let's see the output generated by this command. You can see that this is my connectors root directory and it has a number of folders. To hold all the authentication, we have a folder called auth, and it has a subfolder called connection and a subfolder for the connection we just created. Every connection can have a number of versions. Inside a version, it will have a metadata file called connection.json and a JavaScript file called index.js. The metadata file is initially populated by the Symfony utility, and most of the properties are already filled up. Some properties, however, need to be filled later on. You have to provide an icon for this connection, an input schema, and output schema. Input and output are JSON schema kind of objects. We also have to provide a version which has already been provided for us, and a label is shown on the GUI. To create the JSON schema, we provide the type of the object and the properties and the type of properties. So in this case, username is a string property and the title is shown on the GUI. Min length indicates that the given property is required in case min length is 1. Now let's see how this schema will be rendered on ThingWorx Flow. We can see that there are two input properties, username and password. Now let's take a look at the JavaScript code. Every connection needs to export a single JavaScript object which has two functions, connect and validate. The validate function is called to validate the connection. In this method, you would connect to the target system, use the properties from the input object, and verify that the connection is actually valid. The connect function converts the inputs or the properties of the form into a handle. In this case, our handle has two properties, user ID and password, which are read from username and password respectively of the input form. Once this is done, you can test the connection interactively using the Symfony test connection command. You can write unit tests for the connection code, and you can write integration tests using the PTC Symfony test helper.